YouTube, Awesome Writer here. Welcome to my first Ben 10 retro review. And for the first retro review for this, I picked the most popular and requested item. I'm just kidding. These are the first things I found. Well, not the first thing, but I stumbled upon these when I was going through some stuff in my collection. I completely forgot about them and remembered how much I honestly dug them. I do plan on reviewing a couple of old Omnitrixes, which was my priority for Ben 10 stuff, but I think they're blocked by a closet, and it was easier to just start with these, because I always like to take the easy way out, because it's so easy. But these are basically like almost little collector's figures. As you can tell just by looking at them without me even bringing them up front to the camera yet, they're very well detailed, and they basically make like little statuesque display pieces, which is kind of cool and kind of surprising when I think about it, just because obviously Ben 10 leans more towards kids. I mean, now there's a lot of older fans, but you know what I mean. I was really surprised by these. It's a very interesting selection of characters. You have Electriciety, which it's really funny because I was trying to remember his name and that popped into my head. I'm like, no, that's it. That's not it. It's too stupid. And then I looked it up. I'm like, oh, okay. He appeared in the Generator Rex crossover in a totally different design, and then this was his Omniverse one. I honestly really liked both. I think I leaned towards this one a little bit. And then you obviously have Humongosaur from Omniverse. You got Aggregor back there, which I think is a very underrated villain. I honestly always really liked him. I don't know why the Omniverse team had it out for him. And then this guy whose name I think is Vulkanus. I could not remember his name. I had to look it up, and I just Googled Ben 10 mech suit guy, and it came up. Like, all I could remember about him is that he was like a little tiny baby underneath his head, and then also his face kind of looked like an evil forearms, but if he had like horn whiskers. Let's go over him first because he's the most forgettable. I mean, I do remember this guy appearing multiple times, but it's kind of a surprising one to get a figure for. Like, I'm surprised they didn't go for something more obvious like Vilgax. It's probably my least favorite just because I'm not a big fan of the character, and I feel that there's like a level of stylization to the other three, and this one is just kind of like just him with this coat of paint. They do all have like little bits of articulation, which in one way is kind of nice. I talk about in other toy reviews sometimes about how even when you have a stationary figure, being able to move small pieces can give it a little bit of character. But in this case, it doesn't really do a lot. Like, you can move the head, but it's not exactly a natural head movement because it's not like a full 360. It's on this weird swivel, so it's like a weird slanted exorcist take. That is disturbing, honestly. And you can move the arms up and down, which I guess adds a little bit, and then the legs, but there's like really no reason for the legs to move. In fact, that is a complaint I have about all four of these, is that all of their legs are articulated, but just up here at like, what do you call this, the pelvis, the hips or whatever? I'm not a person. I mean, I'm a person. I was gonna say I'm not a science person. Anyway, point is, I don't like that on these because it doesn't really add anything, and in fact, it actually makes it hard for them to stand sometimes, because if you have it going just slightly off, it will have a hard time standing. So in this case, I'm like, I wish you would have just left the articulation to the arms and maybe the head, even if you're doing that weird stuff. Here's Aggregor. This one looks honestly really cool, although this like effect they're using for the ultra detail makes his face look really old. He looks like Palpatine. My boy, I made Snoke. But it still looks pretty cool. And again, Aggregor is one of my favorite villains. I always thought he was pretty underrated. I just really like that arc. I thought it was pretty cool. So it was nice to see him get some love. And I think this one has some really great details on there. Like, I like the battle damage details on here. Unless that's somehow just from being in storage in my stuff, which I don't think so. But you can see all the different aliens. Armadillo, Terraspin, Amphibian, Water Hazard, and yeah, I just really like this one. I think it's really cool. Again, he does have that articulation going on a little bit, so you can do like a "I'm so old" pose. Then Electriciety, which I think actually has the best use of the articulation because you can kind of have these arms up and down movements pieces. And he does have chest articulation too. So this one is like a perfect example of it actually being able to add a little bit of extra personality by it not just being stationary. I don't think the legs moving is necessary because, again, all it does is make it so that if you don't put it down right or one of the legs shifts, it has a hard time standing. But this is a really cool one because it retains the design from Omniverse, but it gives it kind of a realistic tinge to it, which I really like. Probably one of my favorite aliens because it's like two of my favorite things, which is electrokinesis powers and like Bigfoot Yeti type stuff. Really cool looking alien. I can't believe I kind of almost forgot that he existed. We got Humongosaur, one of the most popular aliens here. I also really like this one. I also think it does a pretty good job of like the arm articulation being able to give it a little bit of personality. And also I really like this design actually more than what he looks like in Omniverse, because the Omniverse design, if I remember right, just looked really weird because you have like the snout up here and it gave it this really kind of goofy look. And this makes it look like a much more badass version of itself. And I honestly really dig that. I don't remember if they did any more of these, to be honest. There's even a chance they did more and I have them and I just don't know where they are. But I really am surprised that they did this because, like I said, usually for the kids line, they go for more like, okay, figures and Omnitrix and roleplay. And this is very much a collector feeling thing, but I'm really glad they did it. Like I said, it's kind of an odd selection of characters, especially for like the Vulkanus guy. You'd think they do Vilgax or something, or even Electricity, which I really like. You'd think maybe Heat Blast or something more popular, but I'm really glad they made them. You know, if you're an older Ben 10 fan and you're looking for some neat stuff for like a display, I can recommend checking these out. I think they're pretty cool and a really neat little piece of the history of the toy line. Like, honestly, looking back at this and some of the other Ben 10 toys when I'm sifting through stuff for some retro reviews, I'm like, Bandai actually did a really good job with the line. We got a lot of really cool like toys and collectibles with that. But anyways, guys, that's about it for this one. Until next time, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and climb the steps and ring that bell to get notifications for my videos. Dawson Ryder, signing out.